The new year's here. I'm sure if you're watching this, you're probably thinking, how do I improve? How do I change my life? How do I finally live the exact life that I want to live? In this video, I want to share with you sort of a mindset hack that I have that will help you progress toward the life that you want. I'm not saying that by applying this hack, you'll suddenly magically just change everything about your life in an instant. Of course not. Anything worth having requires work, it requires time. But what I will say is that this mindset hack that I've used in my own life will help you sort of see the bigger picture and help you move toward the lifestyle that you want. Now, what exactly do you need to make this lifestyle shift? What exactly is this hack? What you need to understand is that you need to absorb fear. You need to have fear of the future. What do I mean by this? What does it mean to have fear of the future? My suggestion to you right here, right now, if you're watching this, take out a piece of paper, take out your notes on your phone, whatever. Think 10 years ahead from this exact point in time. Assume that whatever you've been doing, you continue to do. You don't change anything at all. What does the future you look like? What will your life become? That is a very important thing to understand. That's a very important concept to keep in mind. I once did this test myself a few years ago. I was working at a law firm and I was making pretty good money at the time. It was the most money I've ever made at that time. And to be honest, the job was pretty nice overall. My boss was nice. All of my coworkers were nice. The pay was good, as I mentioned. The work hours were standard. It was a standard 9-to-5 job, whatever. There wasn't too much wrong. I remember my first year working at the law firm, I got a bonus and I got a check for $13,000 just at once. $13,000 in a single day as my bonus. And I sat there and I sort of did this thought experiment, the one that I'm sharing with you right now. I thought to myself, in the next 10 years, if nothing else changed, if I did every single thing I'm doing now for the next 10 years, what would life look like? And to be honest, the results that kind of came to mind were terrifying. To keep it, to be straightforward, it was quite terrifying. Now, I'm sure you're listening to this and you're thinking to yourself, how could that future be terrifying? Actually, I had friends that said the exact same thing to me. They were like, why would you ever leave your job? Because eventually I quit. And they were like, how could you ever leave that job? You had a nice office. It was right near the window, whatever. You're working at a law firm. So you kind of had that implied like status almost. I wasn't a lawyer, but I worked at a law firm. A lot of people, it doesn't really matter if you're working at a law firm. They sort of attach status to it. The pay was good, as I mentioned. I wasn't really that stressed from the job. I wasn't stressed at all, really, from the job. There was minor things here and there, like any job. But nothing too extreme, nothing too critical. So people would ask, and I'm sure you're probably asking, why would you leave? And the reason was, I sat there and I did this thought experiment. At the time, the only thing I was really doing with myself, I would occasionally try to get a client in real estate. But really, most of my time was working at this job, coming home, watching TV, doing like basic stuff, trying to work on real estate here and there. Nothing too extreme. My ambitions were getting lower. I was going to the gym regularly, but I wasn't really progressing. I didn't see the need to progress. I was going on, my fair share of dates. It was just standard. And at the time I thought, if I continue down this pathway, I'm going to live a very standard lifestyle. And I didn't want that. I didn't want a standard lifestyle. To me, life is about sort of creating a story. I think about it this way. If you're to reach the end of your life, if you're at your own funeral, and say, for example, you see yourself in the casket, and on top of the casket, there's a book. If you were to read the book, you'd want the story to be interesting. This is the way I think about life. You wouldn't want to go to a funeral and see someone's book, and the book is like this thin, or the book is super repetitive. Nothing ever changed for decades. To me, that's the most boring book. And to me, by extension, that's the most boring life. I didn't want that kind of life. So I sat there and thought to myself, if I continue working here at this law firm, I'm going to get comfortable. I'm going to be okay with like the yearly raise or whatever. The bonus is nice, but I'll sort of settle into a life of just mediocrity. I'll never create anything new. I'll never achieve anything different. I'll never live a lifestyle that's worth writing about or worth taking notes on or worth studying or anything like that. And I couldn't handle that. And the fear of living that life of just being mediocre or being standard scared me so much that I decided to come up with a plan. And at the time, I was working with a buddy of mine. We were kind of doing this advertising agency. And we figured, look, let's see if we can take it to the next level in the new year. And we spent months just working on it, hoping that we can sort of quit our jobs and work on this advertising agency full time. And I remember that next summer, after about, 4 or 5 months of just thinking about it endlessly, literally every single day I would sit there and I would just be like, oh, I need to quit. I can't do this anymore. I can't be at this law firm. The law firm's good. You kind of talk, you kind of debate yourself like, oh, well, the pay is good and you're not really that stressed and everything else is good. The people are nice, but what else is out there? You kind of get this grass is greener mentality. But this is one of those instances where I think that grass is greener mentality is actually a better mindset. The fear motivated me so much that I eventually quit my job. I quit the job at the law firm, the nice cozy job with the good pay and the good office seat next to the window, all that stuff. I quit it. And to be honest, even though a lot of people sort of questioned me, a lot of people sort of judged me, and they kind of thought, you must be crazy. You must be a fool. I haven't spent a single day regretting it. I think that was the best decision I could have made because I saw myself 10 years down the line just being that basic, standard, comfortable guy. You go out on enough dates, you meet a girl, you date her for a few years, whatever. Maybe you break up and get a new girlfriend, whatever. Or maybe you date her enough, you have kids, you get married, whatever, have kids, blah, blah, blah. White picket fence, basic house. You stay in the exact same place for the rest of your life. You never really travel. You never see the world. You never really try to improve yourself because you have no true motivation or desire or need to motivate yourself. And that's exactly what I saw. I saw a future Lenny that was never going to improve himself, that was never going to change. And some people might say, well, maybe you were going to get motivated as time went on. Maybe that old ambition that you felt you were losing would come back. And maybe you would use that money from the law firm to invest in yourself and do other cool things. Maybe. Who knows? You can't see into the future. Hindsight's always 20/20, as they always say. But I think what we can do as humans is we can sort of see trends and we can sort of extrapolate based on current actions. Does that make sense at all? And my thing about this is a lot of people get very idealistic about the future. If your current actions aren't leading toward a certain future, you have nothing to be idealistic about. So let's put it this way. If you're a couch potato, you should never expect that you'll have a six-pack in the next year. How could you? Your current actions aren't leading to the future that you desire. Does that make sense? So with that being said, this exercise helped me sort of figure out that my current actions weren't leading to a life that I desired. It wasn't leading me to an extraordinary, exemplary lifestyle. It was leading me to a very standard and mediocre lifestyle. So I want you to sort of do that exact same exercise. Sit there for a minute. Like I said, take out a piece of paper, use your phone, type in some notes, whatever you have to do. Think about the next 10 years. Picture yourself 10 years into the future. If you had a time machine and you can go see yourself, what would you look like if everything that you are currently doing never changed? If your eating never changes, if your lifestyle never changes, if your daily habits, do you walk enough, they don't change, if your money doesn't change, or at least say barely changes, if you work like a salary job or a 9 to 5, whatever, assume some increases in income, assume your relationships don't change that much, assume that the friends you have today are the exact same friends you'll have in 10 years. Assume the conversations you're having with those friends are the exact same conversations you're going to have in 10 years. Everything that you're doing today, assume it does not change for the next 10 years. The question is, does that frighten you or does that excite you? If it excites you, stay the exact same. The mission's already complete. If it frightens you, you know what you need to do. You know you need to change something up. And that is the mindset that I want you to have as you progress into the new year. Look 10 years ahead. Do you have to change or do you want to stay the same? You know exactly what to do. And then from that point, reverse engineer the process. Start to figure out who you desire to be 10 years in the future. What does that person look like? How does that person dress? How does that person speak? What kind of friends does that person have? How much money does that person have? What kind of car do they drive? Reverse engineer the ideal 10-year self from the undesirable 10-year self. Separate the two. Reverse engineer the good one, stay away from the actions that lead to the bad one. And then simply, once you reverse engineer the process, just start to do it. I think it's that simple. So hopefully that helped. Hopefully that all made sense. Hope you got a lot of value out of that video. Make this upcoming year the year you succeed. Make this upcoming year the year things begin to change and you begin to live the life that you always wanted to live. Remember, you're writing a storybook. Don't make it a small little tiny book. Make it a gigantic tome. Does that make sense? Cool. Hope to see you next video. Peace out.